Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting of the CMAQ and TAP Project Selection Committee to order. Just go around and for the committee members, we can introduce ourselves as a point of introduction, but also attendance. I'll go first. Doug Ferguson with CMAP.
Grant Davis with CDOT.
Jason Lang with IDOT.
Heather Mullins, Regional Transportation Authority.
Tom Rickard with Kane County, representing the counties.
Chad Riddle, IDOT, District 1 Local Roads.
John Paul Deepla, FHWA.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Moving on to item 2.0, we don't have any other agenda changes or announcements, so we'll move on to approval of the minutes. Included in your meeting materials were the minutes from the April 3rd meeting. Do I have a motion for approval?
Tom Rickard motions to approve.
Thank you, Tom. Second?
Grant Davis, second.
Thanks, Grant. Any changes to or questions about the minutes as proposed? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, minutes pass. Moving on to the programming monitoring and the project programming status sheets. The sheets for CMAQ, CRP, and TAP-L were included with your meeting materials today. Are there any questions on those status sheets? They're just kind of a summary of like what's programmed in the different years, and we try to get the obligations in there. Sometimes they're a little bit slow, but just in case this is just for informational purposes. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the CMAQ programming summary and obligation goal was included. So to date, we've a little over 53 million has been obligated in CMAQ funding in this federal fiscal year. We do have 88 million sitting in AC, so hopefully some of that gets converted in the next like 6 months, and we get closer to at least our federal apportionment level for the year. And it would be nice if we could spend down or get into some of the unobligated balance, and I can make a request to IDOT to reinstate funds. And we don't get to like August reapportionment where funds are transferred to other programs, so that the state, so as a state, we're spending all our federal funds. But any questions on the obligation report? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to 5.0 project change requests. John Hasma is here with our one project change request.
Good morning, all. I think this one will be pretty quick. We received, as Doug said, one project request, and that's for the Illinois 56 Butterfield Road at York Street project in Elmhurst. The project has used CMAQ funding to complete phase 1 and phase 2 engineering, and also has about 350,000 CMAQ to fund right away, and $997.7 thousand CMAQ to complete construction, and both of those phases are currently deferred. The sponsor is requesting a transfer of $214,000 CMAQ from right away to construction, and since there's no change in cost and since the project is in deferment, staff is recommending approval of the transfer of $214,000 from right away to construction.
Rickard motions to approve.
Thank you, John, or Tom. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Thanks, Grant. All right, any questions or discussions on the change? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the change passes. And now on to what we're really here for today, the federal fiscal year 2026 to 2030 program development. So at our last meeting, we released the program, there's the CMAQ and TAP programs for public comment. The public comment period ended on May 2nd. As detailed in the memo included in your meeting materials, 4 comments were submitted on the programs. 2 emails and a voicemail were submitted by residents of Country Club Hills in support of Country Club Hills BP Pipeline Shared Use Path. The project is included in the TAPL program for funding to complete the Phase 1 engineering work that was previously funded under the Cohort 4 Phase 1 engineering exemption. A comment letter was also submitted by L. Anton Seals Jr. of Grow Greater Inglewood Community Group. The comment requested the addition of 5 transportation projects for federal funding under the federal fiscal year 2026 to 2030 call for projects. None of the projects that were on the list were submitted by eligible sponsors as part of the call, which closed on December 20th, 2024. So based upon the comments received, staff does not recommend making any changes to the CMAQ or TAPL programs. However, as similar as was stated in the SDPL or SDP Project Selection Committee, staff is committed to holding a discussion on what a future process could look like that would consider publicly submitted projects for implementer consideration as applications. At this time, staff is requesting approval of this committee of the federal fiscal year 2026 to 2030 CMAQ and TAPL programs to be recommended to the Transportation Committee for their consideration at their May 30th meeting. So with that, before we open the floor to discussion, do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion this time.
Thanks, Grant. Do I have a second?
Jason Lang, second.
Thank you, Jason. Any questions or comments on the programs? All right, well, I guess with that, we'll take a vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, the programs move on to Transportation Committee. Would like to thank everybody for moving this along. As was noted in the SDP Project Selection Committee, so they'll go to Transportation Committee on the 30th, and then the CMAP Board on June 11th, and the MPO Policy Committee on June 12th for final approval. The CMAQ program will have to get an eligibility determination from FHWA, but we don't expect any hangups there. But I mean, sometimes you never know. But hopefully everything will be in the tip and ready to go by July. So. And I would like to thank my staff that here at CMAP that worked on these projects and helped with the analysis, and also our Council of Mayors Planning Liaisons for their help in guiding locals through the process as well. So,
Yeah, I wanted to do the same. Thank you for CMAP staff and their efforts. As always in recent years, it's been so much smoother than some of the historical meetings we used to have. And so appreciate all the effort, the time, the coordination, and trying to help all the different agencies understand the process. So thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. All right, moving on to 7.0, other business. CMAP does not have any other business to bring before the committee. Is there anything that the committee wishes to bring up? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to public comment. Does anybody from the audience wish to address the committee, or anybody online wish to make a comment? All right, not seeing anything online. We'll move on to our next meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for July 17th. We will, right now, we don't have any business that that would warrant having that meeting, but we won't know until like closer in whether there's going to be project change requests that are submitted that will need to be considered by this committee. So, but in all likelihood, we'll probably, unless there's something pressing that needs to go on a late, like, I don't know what we would be making that for, probably the September letting. We'll probably cancel that meeting. So moving on to adjournment, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And second, thank you both. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're adjourned at 11:10.